motorcycle, was there, part of the 4th Infantry Division. So, Hua, Armstrong, good to be back here. Steadfast in the Lord, absolutely. Before I get started, though, all the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and first responders, and law enforcement, please stand so we can thank you for your service. On a personal note, I want to thank you all for your thoughts and your prayers and your well wishes, because as you know, on Memorial Day weekend, coming back from a rally at the state capitol, I was on my motorcycle and just north of Waco in the city of West Texas, had a pretty bad motorcycle accident. And those of you that have ridden motorcycles, you know that it's not likely that you're going to survive a motorcycle accident on an interstate highway going 75 miles per hour. But today I had my physical therapy and things are going so well that he told me that I can skip a week before I come back to continue to work on my shoulder. So thank you so much, because I am living proof of God's grace as a reward of your prayers. Can I ask you? Can we have questions afterwards, or you just want me to talk and then get out of here?
Questions?
Okay. All right, I'm going to talk maybe about 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to open it up to the floor for question and answer. Is that okay with everybody? All right. 3 weeks from today. 3 weeks from today, you will know whether or not you have lived up to the words that Benjamin Franklin said on Constitution Day, September the 17th of 1787. When Benjamin Franklin came out of Constitution Hall, he was met by a Philadelphia socialite, a woman by the name of Mrs. Powell. And Mrs. Powell asked him a very important and definite question, definitive question. She said, "Well, doctor, what is it that we have? A monarchy or a republic?" Franklin replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." On November the 4th, 3 weeks from today, you will know whether or not you still have a constitutional republic. On November the 4th, 3 weeks from today, you will know whether or not the only state that ever fought for its own independence, started out as a republic, will stand its ground and make sure that the better days and the brighter days of the United States of America continue on. That's what this election cycle is all about. That's why Texas is so important, because we don't get to have a constitutional republic if the great state, the Lone Star State, does not stand up in this gap and lock shields and thwarts this incredible enemy that is knocking on our gates, and in some places are inside the gates, called progressive socialism.
Right.
And you all sitting here in Belton, you're so important. Because when you think about Texas, you got East Texas, which is a shoulder. You got West Texas, which is another shoulder. You got the belly of Texas, which is South Texas. Then you got the spine, which is I-35. And when you think about the spine of Texas, I-35, when you start at Denton, you travel all the way down to San Antonio, that spine is a little bit crooked. Because the progressive socialist left has come in and infected the spine of Texas. When you look at what they are doing in Denton County, in Collin County, in Dallas County, in Tarrant County, when you travel down I-35 and you see what they're doing in McLennan County, when you hop down the road and you see what has happened in Austin, in Travis County, and continue on down to the birthplace of Texas, heroism, San Antonio, and Bexar County. We need you all here in Belton, because somehow you've got to block this spread as it comes up out of Austin and Travis County. And you got to make sure that it does not continue to come down from Waco and McLennan. You know, I love Chip and Joanna, you know. I'm forced to watch that show because I have a wife and 2 daughters. But a lot of other people are watching that show. And if you haven't been paying attention, there's a lot of license plates up there in McClellan County of people that have come here into Texas. And if you look all over Texas, there's a lot of license plates of people that are coming in here to Texas. But one thing they don't understand is the Texas way of life. One thing they don't understand is the reason why they were forced to leave California, Illinois, New York, and New Jersey. The reason why they come here to this incredible state, the 10th largest economy in the world. Almost 12% of Fortune 500 corporate headquarters in Texas. The reason why the United States of America is energy independent, a net exporter of energy resources, is because of Texas. The world's largest military installation, centered in Buckingham in your Senate district, is Fort Hood, Texas. That tells you just how important Texas is for the economic, the energy, and the national security of the United States of America. So goes Texas, so goes the United States of America. So goes the United States of America, so goes the world. Therefore, so goes Texas, so goes the world. That's your challenge in this election cycle. That's what you have to understand is at stake in the next 3 weeks. I voted this morning. I was proud to go in there and hit all of our good, strong Republican candidates. And you know, it's so funny because the person that was in charge of the voting area that I go to, they came and they saw me walking in and he said, no, it's a Democrat. He said, no, Colonel West, we got to get you in here because we can't have you talking to people in this line. I said, you're right, brother, because I converted. I was until the last minute. I need you to go out there with the power of the message that we have. So many men and women have stood up over the past 244 years, 245 years to protect this great thing that we have called the United States of America. And when you talk about us being a republic, two most important things about living in a republic is the rule of law and individual rights, freedoms, and liberty. Right. Those are the cornerstones. And when this election cycle is settled, it is the choice that we have to make between understanding that we are standing up and fighting for that rule of law, the Constitution, Colonel Torres, that we all took that oath to support and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Because that's what, somebody said, is there a newspaper here? But you know something? If you are purporting an ideology, a philosophy of governance, an ideological agenda that goes against the fundamental standards of this republic, you are our opposition. You are our adversary. And we need to see this just the same as any other battlefield. And when you think about the rule of law, if we don't have the rule of law and order, then we have the rule of the mob and the chaos and violence. If you want to know what the left wants to do to Texas, just drive down I-35 and go to the capital city of Texas, which does not resemble what you would think the capital city of Texas would resemble. But think about this, that far left city council, led by Mayor Stephen Adler, defunded the police by $150 million in the capital city of Austin, Texas. They have allowed the rule of the mob, the rule of the homeless. And now, Austin, Texas is experiencing a 63% increase in violent crime. Austin, Texas, that was once known as the live music capital of the world, 90% of live music establishments in Austin, Texas are gone. Never coming back. You go down 6th Street, it's all boarded up. You get off the interstate at I-35 and you know what you see, you know what you smell. The Fraternal Order of Police have put up billboards on I-35 on either side, north or south, saying, "Welcome to Austin. Enter at your own risk." That's what happens when we don't allow for the rule of law. We allow for the rule of the mob. We allow these people to come in here and talk about defunding the police instead of us standing up with our first responders and our law enforcement officers and defending the police, because they are out there every single day protecting us and our way of life here in the great state of Texas. November the 4th, will it be the rule of law or will it be the rule of the mob? On November the 4th, will Texas still be known for its respect of individual liberty? Or will we be known as a place where we have collective subjugation? That's exactly what the left is all about. The left is all about coercion, intimidation, threats, and then ultimately violence to get you to surrender who you are. The great thing about the United States of America is that each and every one of you are sovereign. And how is it that each and every one of you are sovereign? Because when you read the Declaration of Independence, and furthermore, talking about education, what's this crap that the United States of America was founded in 1619? See, that's indoctrination. That's not education. The United States of America was founded on July 4th of 1776, not 1619, not when the first slave ship showed up on our shores. But if you're not careful, that's what they will do. They will get your kids to believe that this is a hateful and horrible country. See, in that Declaration of Independence that the left wants to dismiss, they want to disregard, they don't want to teach anymore because they're not teaching history. In that Declaration of Independence, it said that your inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which John Locke, the English political philosopher, said life, liberty, and property. But your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness does not come from government. It does not come from man. It comes from the Creator God. And if the Creator God is sovereign, then doggone it, He has endowed you to be sovereign as well, because He has given you those rights. But if we don't stand up on November the 4th, you will not be sovereign. Look at what is happening in all of these states where people are fleeing from. The government and its onerous control, its onerous dictates. Think about the tomfoolery, the insidious idiocy in California when they come up and they say to people that every single person by 2035 must have an electric vehicle. At the same time, when they got rolling blackouts. You know, some of you guys in the military, y'all remember that phrase the drill sergeants used to say, that's just stuck on stupid, okay? But that's who they are. And you should be offended that they would want to bring that type of belief system here to the great state of Texas. You know the good thing about Texas? There's an East Coast grid and there's a West Coast grid. Texas ain't on either one of them.
Amen.
The your state of Texas has its own electrical grid. That's why Elon Musk is coming here and bringing Tesla. But the important thing is that we must say to Elon Musk and all of these employees that he's bringing here, welcome to Texas. But why are you here? Because you can't forget why you left. Even God told Lot when He was destroying Sodom and Gomorrah a very simple command. Don't look back. And if we don't start telling people in these 3 weeks, don't look back, then November the 4th is going to be a different day. When you think about what is going on here in the great state of Texas, how is it that people can come here and talk about onerous taxation? Because Texas is all about a rugged, indomitable, entrepreneurial spirit. Texas is all about economic empowerment, but what these other people want is economic enslavement. And when you speak about enslavement, let me tell you something. Whenever anybody comes up to you as a Republican in the state of Texas and calls you a racist, you need to straighten up, look at them eyeball to dadgum eyeball, and tell them that our Republican Party of Texas was founded on Independence Day of 1867 by 150 black men. At the same time, your little gang of knuckleheads will create a Ku Klux Klan. If you want to talk about the greatest purveyors of systemic racism, it's not our party. Our party was founded, as I said, to end slavery. Back then it was physical slavery. Today it is to end economic slavery. And if you want to talk about a president that has done more for the black community, more for any of the minority communities in the United States of America, it's Donald J. Trump. The thing is this, I want you to have an emboldened spirit in these last 3 weeks. I don't want you to be on the defense. I don't want you to be back on your heels. I want you to go out there and profess who you are and what you believe in, because that is what makes Texas, Texas. That is what makes America, America. And as your chairman, I'm here to tell you, Republicans in Texas, we're not going to be on defense. Republicans in Texas, we're going to do one thing. We're going to attack. Every single person here that's ever served in the United States military will tell you, you don't win on defense. Am I right, Colonel Torres? You know something? Let me tell you how badass he was. His nickname in the Marine Corps Force Recon was Samurai, okay? That ain't the dude that I want to mess with, but that's the dude that I want in a foxhole with me, and that's why I'm honored to be in this foxhole with you, Colonel Torres. But the thing is, just as has been said, Republicans have to stop bringing a plastic spoon to a gunfight. You're not going to win that way. We've got to stand up and we've got to challenge them. We've got to stand up and we have to go after them. We have to stand up and make them be on the defense, make them be on their heels. You should be offended that any person would come into Texas and say, we're going to turn Texas into California. We're going to make Texas look like Illinois. We want Texas to be like New York and New Jersey. If that's the case, you should have stayed the heck where you were.
Yeah, amen.
You're right here on the spine. You got to be strong. You got to push back against this. And even after we are successful on November the 4th, we're going to win, folks.
Yeah, we are.
It's just a matter of how big we win. That's not me being, overly confident or anything. But I see the indicators. I see the trends. I see the fact that Joe Biden's campaign is now spending money in South Texas. Now, who would have ever thought they needed to spend money in South Texas? That's supposed to be an easy layup and a slam dunk for them, because all of a sudden you go down to Laredo, there are 5,000 people in a Trump train. You go down to Laredo. They have 4 Hispanic pastors running for city council as Republicans. You go down to McAllen and Hidalgo and Cameron County, they're having Trump trains every single weekend, 500, 600, 700 cars. You go down to Houston, and the Vietnamese community is holding a rally, 600 people, all screaming and chanting for President Trump. Why are they screaming and chanting for President Trump in the Vietnamese community? Because they know what socialism looks like.
That's right.
They know what communism and Marxism looks like. When you sit there and you talk to soldiers and officers who used to be in the South Vietnamese Army, they tell you, we had to flee because they were going to execute us. And we come here, and now we're seeing the exact same thing in the streets. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, no different from the Viet Cong, Colonel. Because they're going out there, they're destabilizing government infrastructure. This is a domestic insurgency. And why are we allowing that to happen here in the United States of America? We saw what it did to our country, but we are committed for it not to happen here in our new home of Texas and in our new home of the United States of America. That's the same type of commitment that we must have. 3 weeks, folks. 3 weeks, and you got to ask yourself, when you wake up on that Wednesday, the 4th of November, will you be able to walk outside and raise that American flag and raise that Lone Star flag? Or will you have to hang your head in shame? We don't have our heads in shame in Texas. We fight. My legacy, very simple. I was born and raised in Georgia, went to the University of Tennessee. I'm a former member of the United States Congress. I think there was a guy that when he lost his congressional re-election, he was a former member of Congress. He said, "May you all go to hell. I'm going to Texas." It ain't about where you're born. It ain't about where you came from. It's just understanding
what you
that
do.
you set your feet in this incredible state called Texas. It's all about the fight. It's all about legacy. It's all about carrying on that memory, those incredible men and women that enable us to sit here today. And so going forward after November the 4th, it's not over. The important thing, Karl von Clausewitz wrote in his book on war, he said, war is about the imposition of your will on your enemy. After November the 4th, we got to crush it. We got to send a message. We got to stay at it and be relentless every single day, Senator Buckingham. That's why those legislative priorities are up there. Because we've got to let them know that progressive socialism, as they say, that dog don't hunt here in the great state of Texas. See, too often what we do is we ramp up for an election, and then after the election we go, woo, and then we ramp back down. No, we're going to continue to march. We're going to continue to attack. We're going to defeat them in these municipal elections, city council and school boards. We're going to get ready for the next 2022 election. We're going to make sure that we bolster up our congressional districts, our state senate districts, our state house districts. You've got to send a message to Barack Obama, Eric Holder, Michael Bloomberg, Mark Zuckerberg, all of these leftist chuckleheads that think they can drop, yeah, that's what they are. All these leftist chuckleheads that think they can just drop money here in Texas, and we're supposed to roll over and let them have it. This is really the beginning of their end. My commitment to you is that when you look at the electoral map of the great state of Texas, by county, we will see less and less blue. Because we're going to win people over. The power of our message. With your will, your determination, and your commitment to those principles. We're going to take that message into those urban population centers, which you see the devastation of the failed policies of the left. We're going to take that message all up and down the I-35 spine. We're going to restore and straighten this spine of Texas. We're going to clean out the belly down there in South Texas. We're going to let them know that anytime you ever say that you're going to flip Texas, the only thing you're going to flip in Texas is a pancake. Leave out here tonight, folks. It's just 3 weeks. 3 weeks determines whether we still have a constitutional republic, whether that lone star still illuminates the other 49 on that flag, or whether we will go the way, because California used to be a red state. Nevada used to be a red state. Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Virginia. We've got the opportunity to say that Texas will be the first state that crushes socialism, Marxism, and these progressives here in this state and all across the United States of America. God bless you all. What do you think? Yes, sir. You shout it and I will repeat it for everybody. He wants the microphone.
I have the mic every day, so I'm getting used to this. Lieutenant Colonel Brown, how do we get at it to open Texas?
It's your voices. You know, when I was down there last Saturday, I read the resolution from the your state Republican Executive Committee to talk about opening Texas now. And so your voices need to be heard. You know, there's a sad statistic that is out there right now. Texas is second only to California with businesses that have been closed during this COVID-19 issue. 8,900 businesses in Texas not going to come back. That should not happen. We should not be second to California in that type of category. So I think it's very important that you allow your voices to be heard. And you know, there are some people out there that say that you shouldn't say anything about the governor or whatever. Let me just remind you all something. A lesson that I learned in the military. Leaders know what right looks like. And leaders don't pick and choose when they do right. You've got to have the courage to stand up, call a ball, and strike a strike, regardless. And see, that's why we took an oath to the Constitution. We didn't take an oath to a party. We didn't take an oath to a person. We took an oath to a core set of principles and values. And that's why I want you all to believe. That's why I want you all to understand. It ain't easy. But sometimes you got to have the courage and the character to do what's right. And you will never have to worry about me not doing what is right. Regardless, as you know, Colonel, the consequences that it may have. You know, when I retired from the military in 2004, it wasn't exactly on a good ending. But the thing is that as I drove out of Fort Hood, Texas, I knew that I could look at myself in the mirror and say that I did what was right by my soldiers. Maybe it was not what was right according to some of the muckety-mucks and the higher-ups. But when I still get calls from my troops, when they still send me pictures of their kids who now are, grown up, young teenagers, that's what's most important. To be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that regardless of the consequences and circumstances, you did what was right. So let your voice be heard. Next question. Yes, sir. Shout it out.
I will, sir. There's a bill that was introduced in 2017 in the House of Representatives, and it gained 168 co-sponsors, 167 Republicans and 1 Democrat. It's called the Life and Conception Act. That same bill was introduced in the House, in the U.S. Senate, in January of 2019. The same identical bill, 1 paragraph long, if you can believe that. 1 paragraph long, the Life and Conception Act. It has no penalties, no punishments. It says one simple thing: life begins at conception, and it's government's and Congress's responsibility to protect all born and preborn life. Now, what my question is why have not Senator John Cornyn and Senator Ted Cruz not joined as 2 more of the 16 co-sponsors? There are 16 co-sponsors, including Senator Inhofe from Oklahoma, Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, Steve Daines from Montana, and 13 others that joined with Senator Rand Paul when they co-sponsored that bill in January of 2019. Why have not Senator Cruz and Senator John Cornyn co-sponsored that bill? It's simple. It even has a clause in it that says this bill does not include or pertain to any woman who might participate in the death of her unborn child. So it's not about punishing women. It's simply declaring life begins at conception. It's a strategic move to say to the Supreme Court someday if it gets passed by Congress and signed by the President, which is 50% plus 1 for both houses. It would then give the Supreme Court cause to say, we were wrong on Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade was said, the big phrase in Roe versus Wade, we don't know when life begins. And this would say, we know when life begins at conception. It would help lawyers for Texas and others when they adjudicate abortion cases that restrict abortion, and help them to say, hey, Congress has passed this law that says life begins at conception. So that's the concept. And my question is, why haven't John Cornyn and Ted Cruz co-sponsored this good, basic 1 paragraph bill?
Well, if I were standing here being John Cornyn or Ted Cruz, I can answer that question. but I'm not. So I think
pressure them.
I can talk to them. I can be persuasive sometimes, but I will bring that to their attention. There's no doubt about it. So
I have a copy of the bill for you here.
Okay, I'm sure I can refer to them. But more importantly, you see one of the 8 legislative priorities up there. Remember, in 2018, Republicans lost 12 state house seats. And I think the county judge already talked about Democrats with 9 state house seats away from flipping the Texas State House. We don't get any of these things done if we don't have a good, strong majority in the Texas State House and also the Texas State Senate. So I would ask you to understand that these priorities need us to have good, strong folks in the Texas State House and the Texas State Senate. That's something that I can definitely have an impact on. Yes, sir. Con, how are you?
Well, you have convinced me tonight that you would make an excellent governor of Texas.
Stop it. See, that's how rumors get started.
I hereby nominate you for governor.
I'll third it.
Look, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not upon your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, he will guide your path. So I don't know what the Lord has in store for me, but I don't want you guys going out there making any selfish prayers tonight, okay? Don't go saying that you know what God knows, and you have the mind of God, because it says that you don't. But you just pray that I will always be a humble and obedient servant to God and country of Texas, okay? Just do that for me, all right? Yes, sir.
Colonel West, I'm just trying to figure out how the Republican Party can go and change the mindset of the Jewish people that have been known for
great question.
forever voting Democrat.
Great question.
And the thing about it, though, is that they're not waking up and seeing what's happening before them. I, for one, saw the light and I'm over here, I'm a Jew myself.
Yep.
It just baffles me that how leadership there can keep on allowing the Jewish population to keep going Democrat. What is the Republican Party going to do for that, to get their vote?
Well, I will tell you that you're looking at a young man that defeated a Jewish former state house member and state senator in South Florida by a pretty good margin, because I just went in there and took the case to the Jewish community in South Florida, which is a very big community. But what Republicans fail to understand is that you don't have to win back an entire community. We think that you got to win back the entire black community or the entire Hispanic community. But see, what the left understands is incrementalism. Where we are in the United States of America today is because it's the past 60 or 70 years. So what I would tell you that we have to do is go in and figure out, if there are 5 Jewish people, how do you get 3 of them?
There you go.
That's 60%. Now the other 2 are a special kind of stupid. It's just the same as in the black community. How do you find 5 and you get 3? Hispanic community, find 5 and get 3. You know, I love college football. And maybe some of y'all remember the old University of Alabama teams under Barry Bryant. I went to the University of Tennessee. I don't like you. But you think about it, they ran that wishbone. And they would start out at the beginning of the game and they pick up 3 yards. Second down, pick up 4 yards. Third down, pick up another 3 or 4 yards. But what did that get them? First down. And they go right back. Pick up 3 yards, pick up 4 yards, pick up another 4 or 5 yards, another first down. And then, you know, they march it all the way down the field and get a touchdown. But what happens by the 4th quarter?
Defense is worn out.
They're pancaking. They're picking up 10, 15 yards. See, what we do as Republicans, and kind of along the question you just asked, we come out there on the first down and we got the wide receiver streaming down the sideline. We're trying to throw it and get that touchdown on the very first down. And it's an incomplete pass. So now you got 2nd down and 10, and you try a running play, and maybe you pick up 3 yards. Now you got 3rd down and 7. What does the defensive coordinator know you're going to do? No, you got to throw the ball. And so you get an incomplete pass. And you got to punt to the other side. So we have to have that strategic vision to understand that all you got to do is pick up 3 yards here, 4 yards here. See, President Trump, mark my words, President Trump is going to get somewhere between 15 to 20% of the black community vote. Now some of y'all say, but that's still nothing. They're over. If the Democrats only get 80% of the black community nationally, they're done. If we get 40 to 45, God help us, 50% in the Hispanic community, they're done. If we get 35 to 40% in the Hispanic community, in the Asian community, they're done. If we just go in the Jewish community and we get 35 to 40%, they're toast. So what I want you to start doing is think about what I just said. Find 5, get 3, 60%. And even if you, in some of these communities, you get 2 out of 5, I'll accept 2 out of 5. But 3 out of 5 should be your goal. Because 60%, Senator Buckingham will tell you, any of these candidates will tell you, 60% in a political race, landslide. We don't need to win over everybody. We need to win over a good, strong majority. And that's what we need to be focused on. So slowly but surely, even in the Jewish community, you're starting to see people wake up to the fact that, look, Kamala Harris is supported by an organization, Council for American Islamic Relations, that has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. All you gotta do is go out and say to the Jewish community, is that what you want? Sitting up there in the White House, because Joe Biden ain't gonna make it past 100 days. Well, okay, maybe 75. But if you saw last week, Kamala Harris is not ready to sit in that Oval Office. She has no clue about foreign policy. And so, do we want to have an Israel, a state of Israel, that still has to worry about Iran, because we're back to sending them billions of dollars? Did they push over Hamas and Hezbollah? Or do we want a strong foreign policy that crushes Iran? So that's how you have to speak sensibly to people on issues. But there are still some people out there that are Jewish in name only. They don't go to temple. They're not observant. Nothing. And those are those two out of that 5 you don't need to worry about. Over here.
The problem with a lot of this is complacency, you know this.
The problem with a lot of this is complacency.
In 2016, we had the House and the Senate, and because they had no ambition to back the president, we have what we have in 2018, and we've got Nancy back in control. Speaker, even if we win this big picture, they have to have the courage and drive, no matter what, to do what's right.
Yeah, well, that comes back to what I was saying. His question is that, you can't be complacent, you can't be apathetic. Once again, you got to stop bringing a plastic spoon to a gunfight. Okay, these folks, this is evil. And Sir Edmund Burke talked about this. He said the only thing necessary for the triumph to prevent the triumph of evil, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And so we have to stop doing nothing. The reason why they hate President Trump, the first guy that fought back, they're not used to that. I mean, go back to the Brett Kavanaugh nomination. When all that mess was coming out about Brett Kavanaugh, I guarantee you, any other Republican president would have called Brett Kavanaugh into the White House and would have said, hey, Brett, this pressure's too heavy. And, I don't think we can withstand it. I'll pull your nomination back and I'll give you something else. President Trump's like, you're my man, go out. We're going to stick with you. That frustrates the you-know-what out of them. The man got COVID-19, and 4 days later, he's back, he's under dancing. Let me tell you another little bit of complacency. In 2016, 25 to 30 million Christians didn't vote. Let me repeat that. In 2016, presidential election, 25 to 30 million Christians didn't vote. Folks out in California can't go to church. Church is going up to the Supreme Court because people in Las Vegas said that they can only have 50 congregants, but a casino can have 50% occupancy. And the Supreme Court rules against the church. That's why the Supreme Court is so important. When a baker in Colorado has to go up to the Supreme Court because he said, I really don't want to bake this cake for your same-sex marriage. This is religious persecution. That's why what we got to do, restore religious freedom. You ain't going to restore religious freedom if you dial it in. In Seattle, they were burning Bibles about 2.5, 3 months ago. This is serious business. So you need to talk to the body of Christ and say, y'all can't be apathetic no more. You got to stand up. You're the voice of the Lord. And the voice of the Lord, you can have an impact on righteous governance with your vote. If you don't vote, you suppress the voice of the Lord. You can't do that. Yes, sir.
First, thank you for your service.
No, that's what all of us do.
First, thank you for your service, not only in the military, but for our country. The one thing that concerns me is how the left and whoever's funding it is buying all the media. So the information you're giving out to the public is distorted. And how do we begin to stop that?
Every one of y'all got one of these. Some of y'all have 2 of them. And an iPad. Oh, the question is, how do we stop the media? You're a media source. Instead of sitting around the pictures and all the stories about the cute little baby, jumping around, or the cat playing the piano or whatever, maybe you should, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this viral video of the kitten. Okay, maybe you should start sending information about what's happening in your country. Okay, maybe you should have here, little discussion groups about policy. Maybe you should sit down and look at each one of these legislative priorities, and you guys get to understand these legislative priorities and articulate it in amongst yourselves. They're not teaching history, no. They're not teaching civics, no. But what are we doing? When your kids and your grandkids are coming home from college or university campus, and let me just remind y'all this. Last week, the University of Texas was named the worst campus in the United States of America for conservative students. Not California, Berkeley. Not any Ivy League school, not Northwestern. The University of Texas was named the worst campus for conservative students. So when your kid comes home, even from middle school, are you asking them, what did you learn today? What did you talk about? What did you do? These online classes, you sit back there and you check it out, some of the things that are going on. You got to take responsibility in your home yourselves. You know what? And you are a media source. You can help to dominate and dictate the narrative. How many people here, every Monday morning, I put out a chairman's Monday message? How many people here have ever gone to the RPT website and pulled down the chairman's Monday message?
I get your emails.
No. The chairman's Monday message, every Monday, I put that out. You know why I put out that chairman's Monday message? To get all y'all, I am from Georgia, all y'all on the same sheet of music. Why? Because the left is always on the same sheet of music. They're always saying the exact same thing. How is it that all of a sudden, if you look at what is going on, all the people on the side of the left are coming out saying, well, President Trump is packing the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
See? Because there are people out there that don't understand Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3 of the Constitution. The president is filling a vacancy. But see, they will take something, they twist it around. And we don't have a unified, immediate response back to that. You know, Black Lives Matter. My very first chairman's Monday message outlined everything about Black Lives Matter and what each and every one of you should say when someone comes up to you and says Black Lives Matter. You know what you should say? Which Black lives? That is the discussion. You've just taken the offense away from them by saying which Black lives. So tonight, here's your homework assignment. And if you don't do it, I have skills. I will find you.
What's the webpage?
It's TexasGOP.org. It's the Republican Party of Texas. Go and find all of the chairman's Monday messages. And just download them. And they share them. Instead of sharing the cat video. And everybody gets on the same sheet of music. That's how we overcome them. And that's how when you go up and you talk to those 5, you'll get 3 because you're armed with truth. Couple more questions. Young lady.
Thank you. I've met a lot of young people who are really excited about conservative ideas, and some of them aren't even old enough to vote. What's the best way that they could help?
The best way that young people can help, number one, teenage Republicans, that's one group. The young conservatives of Texas are another group. You know, we got some great young people on these college and university campuses. We've got to wrap our arms around. You got one campus right here. You know, do you have a Young Conservatives of Texas organization there? If you don't, you need to get one started, and you need to make sure that they're protected. And just talk to your young people and ask them this. Why is it that young people always say, Mommy and Daddy, leave me alone. I want to do my own thing. You don't know what you're talking about, whatever. But then they want to go out and hang out with a bunch of control freaks. I mean, just put it in those terms. Why do you think you want to vote for socialists? They're just a bunch of control freaks. They're just going to be your big mommy and your big daddy. And I thought that you didn't want to be told what to do. Those are the simple terms you have to talk to young people about. Once upon a time when I was in the House and I was down there in South Florida and I had the opportunity to go speak to one of these really, really elite private school, juniors and seniors. And I just put everything in terms of football because it was football season. And I told them, I said, who is your biggest rival? And they told me who their biggest rival was in high school football. I said, imagine that you're ahead at halftime 28-7. How do you feel? No, we feel good because we don't like those guys. Okay? But when you come out of the locker room, you look up at the scoreboard, and all of a sudden the scoreboard reads 21-14. What do you think? They say, well, the scoreboard's broken, and somebody, put the wrong score up there. I said, but then all of a sudden the coach comes down and pulls you together on the sideline. I said, a bunch of people met in the press box there during halftime. And they said that the game really didn't look fair. And the self-esteem of the other team is being affected. Their band wasn't even playing. The folks over there just looked down. So they decided to take a touchdown from you and give it to the other team to kind of make things a little bit more fair and balanced and equitable. So now that's why the score is 21-14. To a kid, even the young girls, that's not right. That's wrong. We earned 4 touchdowns. So why did they take a touchdown away from us? I said, but the real story is, what will you do in the second half? And one kid astutely stood up and said, maybe we won't score anymore because we don't know who's going to make a decision as far as taking points away from us. See, that's how you take this thing called socialism and you break it down. Because here in Texas, high school football, your kids get Texas high school football. And you start talking to them about people taking touchdowns away from them, they're on board. But that's what socialism is. Socialism does not reward you for going out and practicing and playing hard. And then when you get on the field, you score touchdowns. Because that's what social justice is. Social justice is the forced mandating of an equality of outcomes. I wish I could have been born 6'3", 6'4", and I was able to do a 360 slam dunk. But I'm 5'9". But I still have talents that I've developed because America is about an equality of opportunity. And even if you look in the Bible, it talks about how the body of Christ, you have certain gifts, and you have certain gifts, and you have certain gifts. And we should not be jealous of the gifts that God has respectfully given to each and every one of us, but we should come together and build upon the gifts that God has given us. That's not what socialism believes in. So explain that to your kids. And even talk about it in your church. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 weeks. It's going to go by real fast. But on November the 4th, we got to all be in a great mood. And then we really go into what is the most dangerous phase in a military operation. That's the pursuit phase. Because we're going to pursue this enemy. And you know what happens when you don't pursue the enemy? Study the Battle of Gettysburg. When the Union Army was successful in defeating the Army of Northern Virginia and drove them away on that 3rd day. But the Union General, General Meade, made the decision to not pursue Lee and the Army of Northern Virginia. And so the Civil War continued on for 2 more years. They could have ended right there. All right, okay. Young man got the last question.
Sir, I'm a sophomore and a high school student and a Christian. I hope to go to the United States Military Academy at West Point.
Good, good. Army strong.
As an officer, how do I lead as a Christian in the Army, sir?
How you lead as a Christian in the Army?
Yes, sir.
You display those principles and values, no matter what happens. My favorite Bible verse is Joshua 1:9. I used to have a dog tag that had Joshua 1:9. The good verse, for the Lord thy God shall never leave you nor forsake you. So you hold on to your faith, no matter what people are saying, no matter what people are doing around you, no matter what rules and regulations come down saying you can't display a Bible verse, you can't have a Bible out. You hold on to it because he that is in you is greater than he that is in the world and greater than he that runs the army. So that's what I want you to do. God bless you. Thank you.
My question is, will you join with me in more block walking in these last 3 weeks? She's talking about Nancy Boston has allowed me to work with the precinct chairs and the block captains and the block walkers. We've got a good script, and you can call headquarters, and she will have me go visit you, or we'll get together. I'm going to stand down at the end of the podium here after this meeting's over, and take your name if you want to have extra training in how to do block walking. That's the tip of the spear. We take up the arms that the military lays down when they come home. But when you come home inside the fort fighting the domestic enemies, you have to be equipped with knowledge and procedures for getting people to come out and vote. So will you join? My question is, will you join me and Nancy Boston and the Republican Party in Belton County?